Today I'm at my buddy Jordy's house and I'm waiting for him to show up so I can get in because he has to actually work for a living, and we're hoping to put in a BMW Wallbox 40 amp charger today. And you may remember his garage from the video I did on Kaza smart switches, because we put a bunch of those in, three-way smart switches, we put a bunch of those in his garage a couple of years ago. Anyway, this is a model 6195 A1E 1B3, 1 Baker 3. That's the US variant. They make about 5 variants for sale all over the world. And we were looking around on YouTube for videos about the thing, and we didn't really find much that was US specific. There was a video of a team in like Singapore, looked like Singapore, putting one in, but they were doing all this kind of crazy stuff with plastic wire mold gutters for the wires and things. But here we're going to try to do a job to California standards, because that's where I am. Jordy actually pulled a permit for this job, so I have to do it better than my usual kind of crappy work, and we're going to try to make it nice. He has an interesting wiring situation inside the building too, because he had some wires built in and we're using those but in an unusual way, and I'll talk about that too. So hopefully he'll show up in a minute, we can get inside and I can unload the mighty Prius, which I've filled with all the tools, and we can get to work. So here we are inside the garage, and we're hoping to put the charger here between the two garage doors. And we hope we can do it because this is where we brought the electricity pipe down. And we'll see. BMW wants 8 inches on each side of the charger. So the question is, does this count as free space? I think it's probably, a gray area enough that we can get away with it. So we'll see. But our first step now is to try to lay the paper template out here and see if we can actually make this fit and get a sense that with the cord hanger on the bottom of this thing, if it's going to clear these rails for the garage door and not get in the way of the operation of all that. So let's see. We have our template and we have our mounting bracket that goes on the wall, and then in the box here we have the charger itself. Okay, so the width of the plastic unit itself is like 10.5?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then this little mounting template's smaller than that. It's like
8 3/4.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's good. We were afraid the holes in the template weren't mounting, the cardboard template weren't lining up with the holes in the mounting bracket, but evidently they do. Tight BMW tolerances. This hanger, which is still wrapped up, hangs off the bottom of that bracket, and now we're going to walk over and hold it up and see how high we want it. So the both of us held up the unit and the power delivery cable up to the wall here and moved it up and down, and after much spirited debate we decided that this is the perfect height, which is I guess about 53 inches to the bottom of the unit. BMW's only requirement is that it be 4 feet off the floor, so we're over that here. And then I guess I'm just kind of wondering how useful this cardboard template actually is, because the holes in it are enormous and it's hard to level, and then the holes in this are much smaller in the metal, and you're going to have to align this, and you're going to want to mark and drill for your holes through the metal, not the cardboard. So I guess I'm saying I don't know how valuable the cardboard template is, but it's here now. And I think what I'll do is I will mark the rough center of 2 of these holes. And we tried to level the cardboard. Something like that. And I guess the cardboard template, it would actually be useful if you were coming out of the wall with your wiring, because you need to know where the input from the back plug is. But we're coming in the bottom, so we're not going to use this marking for the 1 inch input coming from a wall mount situation. So here are the little bags of hardware that come with the product, and we're looking at the manual to figure out exactly which ones to use, but these are all labeled, so it's probably these 2. And we're going into solid wood surface, so I'm guessing it's this one. These expansion anchors are probably for, I don't know, drywall, cement. Anyway, so I'm going with these. Yeah, go ahead. You can talk.
Okay.
People love your voice.
It says use your template. Then it says mount the bracket using the selected screws, whether it's drywall or wood screws. We're going to choose wood in this case. And then it says mount once that bracket's on there, mount the box and use the Torx T30 screws, and it looks like there's side mounting.
Oh, we just opened this up, and look, there's not just washers, but there's little lock washer, spring washers. So I guess we're going to go plain washer, spring washer, and then the screw head. All right, so here we are, massive German over-engineering with the length of these screws and 4 of them. You could hang the car itself on this bracket, I swear. And I only marked 3 holes, but it turns out you really only have to mark like these 2, and then these will take care of themselves, won't they? But here we are. The next step supposedly is to hang the plastic unit, the whole unit on this, and then remove the outer covering. So we're going to try to do that now.
For the Torx number 30 screws, there's one on each side. And then there's one on the bottom.
And these are going to fit into the edges of the bracket?
Yes.
Is that, oh, okay. How's it hanging, did you just ask? It's not hanging yet. We're working on that.
I think this is going to be tough here.
Oh, yes, that is going to be a little tough with the... No, I can come in under this one. Oh, we can take the pipe down. Yes, it's going to be like that.
Can you get the drill in there and everything?
How hard can it be? This is supposed to be torqued to a specific foot-pound specification. I do have the torque wrench. That doesn't feel right.
Well, don't cross-thread it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cross-thread it. Anyway, we'll get it.
So you know, one of the things where instead of that drill driver, I have a. You want to put it in by hand?
Maybe.
Because I have a little hand.
It's not bad till there.
I think if you hand tighten it, you can feel if it's cross-threaded instead of sending the drill on it. You know?
Yeah. The metal bracket fits so nicely in the.
I think it
in the plastic.
It feels fine.
Plastic outline.
It feels fine.
Feels good to you?
It's just a little. It's not cross-threaded. It's just.
All right, we put the 3 Torx screws in, hand tightened them so that we don't cross-thread them, and now, okay, well, that's good. Now we have to put the anti-theft screw in that locks the plastic to the bracket. There was one screw kind of at the bottom of the T on the left side. So does this whole plastic front come off now, or was that it? No. So now we're trying to figure out how to get this plastic off so we can get to the bracket to put the anti-theft screw in, which we think were like T20s. There's a bunch of these. If we have to take all these out, really? All right, now we've looked at the manual and we know we have to take out this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 T20 Torx 20 screws to get to the terminal block and all the goodies in here where we can put the anti-theft hoo-ha in. Screw. Hoo-ha is a technical phrase. Oh, look at you. You're going to do it by hand, aren't you? No, it's not long enough? I have longer ones. The plastic is bottoming out on your shaft, as it were?
The shaft is too big. I need a...
your shaft is always...
My shaft isn't long.
Yeah.
It's the question of girth.
Yeah, it's always a question of girth. Well, wait a minute. Let me explain the girth problem. If you've got a short T20 bit and a impact driver extension thing, that's not long enough to get down in the plastic to the actual screw head. So we're going to do it manually. Where's the manual thing? So we have this horrible thing because I don't have my regular Torx screwdrivers are at the house. So we can do all 8 of them this way, and I won't bore you with that. Okay, so we've had fair luck with this tool getting most of these out, but here these. Even if you can get down to the bottom, the plastic comes out so far here that we can't turn it. So we got every tool known to man here, and we can't get these screws out. So tip 1, get a long, thin Torx T20, and we've gone to the store to try to pick up maybe some long T-handled things to do that. All right, while we wait for the Torx, here's the bottom of the unit. We're going to run power in here through this 1-inch knockout, which has NP3 National Pipe thread threads, and BMW gives you this fitting, this 1-inch fitting to screw in there, which is a smooth wall, and I'm not quite sure how this is going to clamp down on anything. So what we've done, and I ordered from Grainger, is make up this. This is a 3/4 Liquitite flex, gray flex conduit, non-metallic fitting, or we're using non-metallic flex, and this is a reducer from 1 inch to 3/4 trade size. So hang on. So first we put this reducer in here. And that takes us from 1 inch trade size to 3/4 trade size. The hole is actually 1 1/8 inches, as you'd expect. And then this is a 3/4 inch flex fitting that goes into that. And I ordered these special from Grainger because there's not the reducer was not something that was easy to find locally. So that's where the wire will go up to the terminal block if we can ever get this cover off to get to the terminal block. And then some flex is going to go down here to a box. So put a 4x4 box here, and power will come into this straight down from above in a 3/4 inch conduit. And then Jordy got this flex fitting will come out the side, or I don't know, or the top or something. And then we'll have a short flex run to get up to the charger. And the idea is with this box, then you can have, in the future, if you want, you can put in a 1450R receptacle, one of the Hubble good ones, to put a plug-in charger in, but we're going to hardwire this thing. So we're just going to pass through this box and put a blank plate on the front of it. So we're doing a little future proofing there. And we're bringing the neutral to this box, but we won't carry it up to the wall box because the wall box doesn't need it. Oh, and it seems like I should mention this plastic thing has nothing to do with the BMW Wallbox. Jordy had a shop vac mounted here, and this was for part of the accessories, and we just haven't taken it off the wall. Yay, we finally got in. I don't know what we did to this weather stripping that's so long here, but I guess we'll figure that out. This is the power going out to the car, and this is where the power is going to come in from the hole on the bottom. This is one leg of the 240, this is the other leg of the 240, and this is the equipment safety ground. What does BMW call it? They use the European terminology TN for Terra neutral. We're actually TNC, I guess. I always think for separate conductor in the United States. But that's important because there's a dip switch here on this block that has to be set down to say that you have a TN system. Looks like it's preset. We'll go through those in a minute. Anyway, and we also discovered that the fitting from BMW had this nice O-ring, so we're going to stick that on our adapter and jam the whole mess up through the hole here. And there we are. Now that we're in here trying to figure out where the anti-theft screw goes, those look like plastic molding, so I'm thinking can you see this? It's this thing down here. I think that's it. We are anti-thefted. That was the right position. So anyway, now we're in here. These connectors are just spring-loaded clips, like, you know, kind of Wago-y things, but they're bigger. So that really doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, but they do give us a little strip guide here. You can see we're stripped of that. So we'll jam it in here. We're using 8 for the equipment safety ground and 6 for the 2 legs of the 240. But it's in there. I'm yanking on it, so I guess it works. But you wouldn't think there'd be a lot of metal contact to transfer current. Not that it matters on the equipment grounding conductor, but of course the fasteners for the power delivery cable have some goofy head on them. Well, it turns out the screws for the hangers are T30 Torex, even though they don't look like it. It took us a while to figure that out. And now we've got a screw that's stripped out down here we need to extract and fix. Okay, it's the next day, and this is how far we got yesterday. And obviously there's been a big change, because yesterday, if you'll remember, there was a piece of EMT coming down here, and we were talking about putting a box here for a future plug-in charger. And as we were fighting all this stuff, we couldn't figure out a good way to do that. So we said, screw it, we'll radically simplify, and we'll just run flex from the gutter up there down in here. And then we hung this thing up. I thought this hung on the back of the, off of the mounting frame for the charger, but it doesn't. It's a completely separate unit. You can put it anywhere you want. But the good news is it looks like this cord, we haven't unhooked it and everything, but it looks like it's not going to get in the way of the garage door rails, so that's nice. I mentioned earlier that Jordy has really interesting power arrangement here. So when he built the building, they put wire in the ceiling, and the idea was to have a car charger for each bay. So there were 3 outlets in the ceiling to run car chargers, and he had a vision of, you know, a charger on the ceiling and then pulling down a cable to charge each one. We wanted to put in this charger today. Well, it turns out they had run number 8 Romex up there, NM cable up in the ceiling. And that may have been fine, you know, 10 years ago for your 16 kilowatt Chevy Volt or whatever. But now with a 40 amp Sirius charger, that's just not enough current carrying capacity in the ceiling. So had this crazy idea that what we could do was parallel two of the conductors. And if you take two number 8s and put them together and run current down both of them at the same time, you get an equivalent wire that's bigger than a number 6. I think it's less than a number 5, but it's, you know, it's more than you need. So the part of the ceiling where we're on the 60-degree column in the neck is going to run extra cool because there's more copper available to move the electrons than we actually need. So yesterday, well, let me back up and then show you what we're doing here. Hang on. So here's how this works. He has this one for the first bay and this one in the ceiling for the second bay, and they're double gang plastic boxes. And we put a blank cover that we drilled out in there so we could make the transition to conduit. And then we put this conduit up here, and it will swing up into that connector on the ceiling. And so there's one of these on each side of this beam, taking power to that gutter up there, which I thought was a little overkill when we first proposed doing it, but it's turning out to be a nice size to do all the connections we have to do. And then it comes down here to the charger. And you know, if someone wants to put a receptacle in the future, they can just start at the gutter and come down. It'll be a very simple wiring job because we did bring a neutral into that box. And so as far as we got yesterday, we ran the wires in the conduit. We put the vacuum cleaner on the end of the conduit pipe and sucked a string through it, and then pulled these number 8 conductors here. And so today we're going to connect all the little segments of wire up. That's all that's left to do, and connect it into the panel. And we're using Polaris connectors to make those connections. And so hopefully later today we'll be able to turn this thing on and commission it and see it light up and go. So one more thing, a couple of months ago when we were sitting around planning this job and came up with the idea to parallel those conductors in the ceiling, we thought it was maybe an oddball idea, but Jordy went ahead and pulled a permit for it, and he went and drew a single wire drawing? Is that what they call it? You did a beautiful job here. Single line drawing. I'll throw that up on the screen. And he took it to the county, and they said, yeah, people do that all the time. So apparently we're going to get away with this, and it's not as weird as I thought it was. So hopefully the inspector will agree. So all right, let's finish this thing. So all our little segments of wire are connected with Polaris connectors, and we've done the 2 boxes up on the ceiling with Polaris connectors and shoved them up into the ceiling. That's all finished and looks nice. My conduit bending abilities actually seem to be passable. And we finished wiring up the sections in the gutter above the charger. So now we're looking at this and we're ready to turn it on. It doesn't have an on-off switch, so the circuit breaker is the on-off switch. So we'll have to run across the room if it catches on fire. But first we have to set the dip switches in here. Now our theory is, and we're just making this up, is that there's no radio in here of any kind. The charger's pretty stupid. And I built a charger kit, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago when you could still build kits for like level 2 chargers. And I know it was a pretty dumb unit. So all the smarts really take place in the car. When you're using the BMW app, you're talking to the car and it's making the decisions. If I remember correctly, what goes on with the J22 connector is there's a resistor between 2 of the pins that tells the car that the connector's been inserted, and then they communicate with some stupid serial protocol, I think, and I would bet it's this orange wire coming out of the blue cable going into the board here that shows that. Anyway, the BMW manuals we have seem to be from the initial release of the Wallbox, and this is a later version, and when it comes to dip switches, there's a 5-position dip switch or 5-element dip switch. That's this here. And then they also had a 9-position dip switch to do external current monitoring kinds of stuff. And we can't find a 9-position dip switch anywhere in this. So what we want to do before we try to turn it on is to set these dip switches. And we'll run it with the cover off. These LEDs here are the blue LEDs, and they should strobe or something as it's booting up and then go solid if everything's going to work right. And then when you're charging, they pulse, I guess. If any red comes up here, then we're in trouble. And that's another thing. since there is no on-off switch, you have to make sure your voltages and wiring is all correct before you turn the circuit breaker on for the first time, so you don't fry it, either by taking these wires out and testing them, or what we did up in the gutter above, we could test all our voltages, which we did, and everything's fine. So we have high confidence that we're going to provide the right power into this thing. But let's set these dip switches now. So I usually bring a plastic tool to move dip switches, but Jordy's given me this fabulous ancient ice pick. Buy a refrigerator from your ice company. There's the ice company sealing its own demise, I guess. But anyway, let's look at these dip switches. The first one is whether the app has to authorize every charge. So you plug it in, and then on the phone you have to say, go ahead and charge. And so really, this must be telling the car that the customer wants to authorize the charge before it starts, because all the smarts are in the car. At least that's what we think. So somehow the setting of this bit is communicated down to the car. So we're going to turn this off because we don't want that. And then 2 is down because that is the grounding system, as we talked about before. It's TNC here, Terra neutral with a separate conductor for the US. And then the last 3, 4, and 5 are the maximum charging current. And right now this comes from the factory at 6 amps. I haven't looked to see if that setting is actually 6 amps, but I do know that 40 amps, which is the maximum it can do, and at 240 volts, that's 9.6 kilowatts. We're going to turn all these up so that we're a full 40 amps. And then that gets back to these screws. The reason these are oddball screws here, these T20s, is so that it's not easy to get in here. Imagine you set up a circuit for only a 6 amp charger. You don't want a customer coming along and easily being able to change the dip switches and trying to pull 40 amps to a 6 amp circuit. So that's why they have these. Except these are not, we found out these are not security Torxes. They're just hard to get to. And then the other mystery we haven't been able to figure out is what we've done to the weather stripping here, why it's so long. So we may end up just cutting it and splicing it. But anyway, it's the moment of truth. Let's put fire in the hole and turn this thing on and, see if we can catch the garage on fire. All right, Jordy's walking into the back to turn the circuit breaker on. Up, we got the blue lights crawling up, no red lights. It's booting up. And I think that's it. If the front panel was on, there'd be a diffuser over that to make a nice blue bar. And so that's telling us I'm alive, I'm happy, and I'm waiting to plug a car in. So, I don't know, do we have a car to plug in?
We don't.
Well, why do we put this charger in if we don't have a car to plug in?
Well, the blue light. Put in the blue light.
We got the blue light. Anyway, that's about it. It's kind of anticlimactic after all that, but we'll go ahead and put the front cover on now and see if we can dig up a car to charge. So I kind of reseated this weather stripping all the way around, but at the end I still had extra, so I don't know where it was supposed to go or what we did. I don't think we stretched it out, and I can't see where it's supposed to go. So in the end I just cut it off, and so we'll have a gap there. Since we're not outside, I'm not concerned about water, but it still feels wrong. So here's what the T20 screws for the cover look like, and they're not security bits, and here's the nice long T20 screwdriver we finally got.
Tool.
Don't have my little cutter. Ugh. How's that go in there? Oh, that's nice. That's pretty positive connection there. It really holds in there good. Anyway, usually the car is here, so this cord just comes and goes into the right side of the car. But put the car in the next bay, so we're going to drag the cord around and plug it in. See what happens.
Oh, I think it's pretty good.
Pretty exciting. Well, plug it in. Let's see if it starts throbbing. Doesn't fit your car at all. Oh, maybe it does. Oh, it clicked over there.
Blue means good.
Yes, we have the throb. My work here is done. So I suppose you can get in the car and figure out if it's really delivering 40 amps, maybe.
It says it's AC at 1 kilowatt. That doesn't.
That's very low.
That's very
Should
low.
be 9,000 watts.
Okay, here's the thing. Come here for a second.
Yeah.
So there's an AC limit
Oh,
right now. It was on 1 amp or 6 amps, excuse me. But we want to go up to 40, don't we?
40 if you can do it, yeah. So we had the AC limit on for the level 1 charger, I guess.
There we go. That's the limit. 40 amp. I'm going to put 40 amp there. And now it's at 9 kilowatts.
That's more like it. Should be 9.6 on a good day, but
Well, let's look on our app.
oh, that's an idea.
And I can hand you the app.
Well,
Lisa already sees her. She's already been alerted on her app, and she's
that it's being charged.
yeah.
So what is it? We're at 56%, 154 miles. So 6 hours to do half. So probably less for overnight.
The duration decreased. Oh, to 6:49 p.m. So it adjusts dynamically. You know,
Yeah.
as it's charging.
Yeah.
What I read, and not for this car specifically, but that for any car, that 40 amp charging is generally about a 9-hour cycle from 10 to 80 or 90
Percent, yeah.
percent. From
Yeah.
10, if you're at 10%,
Yeah.
you want to get
Overnight, right?
right. It's overnight.
When rates are cheap.
Excuse me. It was 9 or 10 if you had. I think when you went to 48 amps or something, when you looked at the cost of trying to put a 60 amp circuit and going through all of that stuff, you really only got it from a 9-hour cycle to a 7-hour cycle.
So 40 amps is a sweet spot.
So it didn't make unless that 2 hours really made a big difference.
Yeah. Well, very good. I guess you better call for the inspector and see if he'll genuflect over this so we can keep using
My
it.
permit. They issued the permit and then they gave me no paperwork. So they need to submit along with the permit the plan that's associated with the permit, so that when the inspector comes,
You can look at
you
everything.
can look at everything. Exactly.
You don't have to. Okay. Well, you'll figure it out.
I'll get inspection scheduled for on Monday.
Oh boy.
Not to come on Monday, but I'll call for
And say what can you do?
what can you do.
So I'm recording this on site, and if you're seeing this piece of video, it means we actually passed the inspection. Yay! And if you're not, then well, you'll see some other bit of video here. Bye. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.